Last one. Woohoo! Not too much to review now. It's got 4 questions to review. It's about solving systems of equations with matrices and then graphing linear inequalities. So that's the 2 things that we're going to look at, 2 or 3 things. First thing, solve the system. So what we're going to do here is solve this system of equations. And I use a graphing calculator. I turn this into a matrix and then use a graphing calculator. So I've got a video on all this matrix stuff coming soon. So I'll have a link posted sometime or another. So if I've got it done, follow the link right now. If not, just hang on. I will have it posted. But I use my graphing calculator. So what I do is turn this into a augmented matrix. This is how I do them. So what I do is I just take the coefficients. So it would be a 1, -1, a 5, and a -11. A 3. There is no y here in this one, so I use a 0. A 1, and a -3. A 1, a 2, a 1, and another -11. So this is an augmented matrix. I'm going to type that into my calculator, use a function called RREF, and it's going to give me a row reduced echelon form matrix. It's going to take that matrix and change it into something that looks like this. Okay, it'll be those ones on the diagonal, the rest will be zeros, and they'll have numbers out here at the outside. And these numbers are my answers. It'll be the x equals that number, y equals this number, and z equals that number. And those are the 3 numbers that when you plug it in work in all 3 equations. So I have a Casio right now, and I'm going to go to matrix. It's the dimensions of this matrix. It's going to be the same on the Casio as the TI-84s or whatever. It asks the same questions, but it's just done a little differently. The dimensions is it's rows by columns. Rows by columns. So it's 3 rows, 4 columns. So it's a 3 by 4. Okay. Now I'm going to plug in my matrix here, the augmented one. Okay, so I've got that down. Now I want to go back to the main menu, and I want to find takes me a second to find it here. Okay, I want to take matrix A. Oh wait, I want to find the RREF. Of matrix A. And I wind up with a matrix, looks like that. My numbers are 0, -4, and -3. That's my answer. X equals 0, y equals -4, z equals -3. Alright, so I've got a link here that should take you to another video that's done with a TI-80 for the Texas Instruments graphing calculator. There's a link that's been up for the past little while about how you can do that. So if you want to use a different calculator, you can. It's the same idea. You want to find this RREF. Okay. Write a matrix equation for this matrix. So what you want to do is write just this part as a matrix. 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 5, 2, negative 4, and 3. Then you write another matrix here. You're timesing this one by the variables x, y, and z. You go down with those. And that equals the last one. 4, 4, 4. That's 4. That's a matrix equation. Like I said, I've got a video that kind of explains why that works, how you multiply two matrices together and such. So this is just review. So I'm assuming you've done it before. This is just the second time seeing it. So that's how you do it. If you don't recall that, or you never did that, I've done a video. Click the link. I'll take you there. Help you out. Last two questions on the review. Graph these inequalities. So let's graph these inequalities. So first off, when I graph something, I wanted to say y. Remember this, y equals mx plus b. And I want to do that. That way I can graph this guy real quick. Use the matrix, the slope, to get to the next point. So I'll solve for y here. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Negative y, that's negative, less than negative x minus 3. Can't leave a negative on the y, so I divide by negative 1. The rule says if you divide or multiply both sides by a negative, it flips the inequality symbol. Oh, you probably remember that from some class somewhere. If not, now you know. So I flip that around, and it changes the signs on both of those. Both of them get divided by negative 1. So I'm going to graph y is greater than x plus 3. So I'll use some grid paper here. Let's see. So we're going to start at 3. 1, 2, 3. Plot a point. We use our slope of 1. So you go up 1 and over 1. And then I'm going to draw not a line, but a dotted line, a dashed line. If that had been equal to's, I'd use a solid line. Since it's not equal to, it's just a regular old greater than symbol. It works for less than symbols too. It's just the greater than part, right? So if you see either of these two guys, use a dashed line. If you see either of these two guys, you're going to use a solid line. So dashed. Now, I'm going to do a test point to see which side of the graph I shade. So I'm going to shade in this graph here because there's a bunch of points that work in this inequality. Remember, these inequalities, there's a bunch of answers to them. It's not an equal to, it's a greater than. So I want to find a test point. So I'm going to use 0, 0. That's going to be my test point. Now, if I plug 0, 0 in, I have to plug it in up here at the top or at the bottom. Because I'm going to do it at the bottom here. 0 greater than 0 plus 3. Is 0 greater than 3? No. So that means when I shade, I do not shade in that point. So I want to shade above this line. Every point that's up here in the shaded region will work in the inequality. Every point that's not in the shaded region will not work in the inequality. So everything that I shaded in on the top will work. Everything that's on the bottom will not. Okay. Do it again. Let's add 3x to both sides. Okay. And then I divide everything by negative 5. Remember what happens when I divide by a negative? It flips the inequality symbol. So negative 3/5 plus 3. And I flip the inequality symbol. Right? Plus 3 is where I start. That's the y-intercept. I'll go down 3 and then run 5. Now this time, I'm going to use a solid line. And now, let's use 0, 0 as my test point again. Right, because 0 times -3/5 is going to be 0. And that'll be 0 is greater than 3. Is that true? Is 0 greater than 3? Now, do not shade the test point. I'll shade above this line here. Do not shade the test point. Every point up through here will work. Every point below that will not work. And that's how you do inequalities. Make sure you shade. And as always, if you have any questions, please ask.